Hi everyone, it's Lindsay with High Altitude Astrology, and today I want to talk about the ingress of Mars into the sign of Capricorn. And this is happening on February 16th at 4:33 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And this is something that happens every couple of years. And the last time that Mars was in the sign of Capricorn was in March of 2018, and it actually was a part of a retrograde. And so it left the sign of Capricorn completely in September of 2018. So now here we are in 2020, and on the 16th of February, it will ingress into Capricorn, and it will stay there until March 30th, 2020. So just under a month and a half. And I want to just talk about what Mars in Capricorn means this time around, because there's always different things going on in the sky every time Mars happens to move into the sign of Capricorn. So, first of all, what is Mars? Mars is our ability to take action. It's our ability to assert ourselves. It's drive. It's energy to do. It rules the sign of Aries naturally. When it moves into the sign of Capricorn, though, it's what's called exalted. And what this means is that it works well in the sign of Capricorn. Because if Mars is about energy and assertion and going after things, Capricorn is the sign of longevity, and it's the sign of patience, and it's the sign of also of doing things, but it has an energy of hanging in there and coming to completion with things. Capricorn rules the winter time in the northern hemisphere, so it's got this energy of like kind of enduring to it. And so when you get Mars, action, strength, energy, courage in this sign of patience, endurance, longevity, it also has this element, Capricorn, of personal authority. So we are learning or asserting ourselves in ways that reflect our personal authority. And I have a theory about that, because if you look at the opposite sign of Capricorn, it's Cancer. And Capricorn itself is what's called the sea goat. So this bottom part of the glyph of Capricorn is like the tail of a dolphin or something related to fish. And then the top part is more of the goat part. And so there's something about this watery element. Again, the opposite sign of Capricorn is Cancer, and Cancer is a water sign. So I feel like there's something connected with Cancer that relates to this part of Capricorn that comes from the water, that has to do with our feelings and our emotions. Specifically with Cancer, it's about feelings and emotions to what makes us feel secure, to what makes us feel at home, to what makes us feel nurtured. And then that top part of the Capricorn glyph is more about taking the action and the effort that it takes to actually get to where we want to go, with that emotion as the driving force behind it. So that's what I think relates to personal authority. Because when we're connected to our feelings, when we're connected to our emotions, when we're connected to what it is that makes us feel safe and secure, then we have a direction that then we can kind of go in with that more effortful energy of Capricorn, based on that connection to our personal authority. And so authority is about actually going out into the world and creating or getting, what it is that helps make us feel secure and safe. That's my personal theory about the connection between Cancer and Capricorn. So Mars, asserting ourselves in this Capricornian way. This is what we're going to be doing for the next month and a half. Now, a few more keywords for Capricorn: accountability, self-discipline, hard work, organization, caution, ambition, seriousness, goal orientation, and personal honor. Now, some of the less elevated expressions of Capricorn: dominance, austerity, restrictiveness, inhibition, and control. So you can see how there's a lot of energy over this next month and a half for us to really make progress in our life, and for us to work at our goals, and to really put a lot of effort and drive into accomplishing things in our life for the next month and a half. Of course, we're always needing to do that, but right now Mars is really bringing us some strong ability to really focus, concentrate, apply disciplined effort towards what it is that we're wanting to create in our lives. Now, Mars, of course, is going to make a lot of aspects with different planets during this transit, which I want to point out. The first aspects as it enters into the sign of Capricorn is that it trines Uranus. And you can see here, Uranus is at 3 degrees of Taurus. Mars is there at 0. And so on the day, which is February 21st, you can see these two highlighted energies. Mars is going to be trining Uranus. Now, Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. The Uranus in Taurus is what's really helping us right now to become more aware of our values, our new values, values that need to change in accordance with what's better for humanity. It's why we're seeing a lot of people talking about what we really need to do, or things we can do in order to affect change in our world that are related to our values. For example, there's a lot coming up in the fashion industry where a lot of pressure is being put on fashion designers to think about the way they make clothes that is less harmful to the environment. So those are some, values, material things. That's what Taurus is about, but looking at it in these new and unusual ways that bring us to a way that's better for humanity. So Mars in Capricorn trine Uranus in Taurus, and again, Taurus also is about not only material values, but it's about our personal values. It's ruled by Venus. Venus rules relationships. So there's something to be spoken about here about how, we can really take this approach, this Mars in Capricorn. This is a very serious approach. This is a very disciplined approach to how we integrate new values into our relationships and our partnerships. Relationships are really going through a change at this time, where we're really looking at what is important about them, what do we value about them, what are our changing values about them. And this Mars in Capricorn is saying there's energy to work towards, in a very disciplined way, incorporating these new values into our lives, into our awareness, and into our relationships. This can be very inventive energy, this Uranus and Taurus, and then Mars is about applying it. Mars is about taking action towards and implementing it. Now, Mars in Capricorn can also be like, okay, I know what I need to do. And so this could also relate to taking action in ways that kind of changes. That's what Uranus is all about. But having the strength and the stamina to put effort towards these new ways that we want to see changed, because Uranus and Taurus is the ideas of it, but Mars in Capricorn is the actual implementation of it. And Capricorn can have a little bit of a hard edge, where it's like, this is what needs to be done, and therefore I am going to move in that direction. And it may involve letting go of going in different directions that we may have had been. All right, the next aspect that Mars is going to be making during this transit of Capricorn is that it's going to be squaring the Chiron. And you see Chiron here in Aries, and this is happening also on the 21st. And Chiron is all about it's our wounding and healing. It's the ability to recognize where we have felt wounded in our lives, experienced woundedness in our lives, felt like an outcast, felt like we didn't belong, felt like we were strange, and then realizing that there's a gift in these wounds and being able to open our minds to a new perspective in relation to the wound in order to facilitate a healing process. Now, with Chiron and Aries, these are wounds about our self-identity. These are wounds about our self-worth. These are wounds around our ability to assert ourselves, to believe in ourselves, and to take action in ways that radiate who we are out into the world. So with this Mars in Capricorn squaring that Chiron and Aries, in some ways, this Mars, the square is a stress aspect, and it denotes some sort of action that needs to be taken as a result of the stress in order to alleviate it. And I think this Mars in Capricorn squaring the Chiron and Aries is basically going to give us some drive, give us some oomph, give us some energy to in some instances, perhaps move away from the wounding situations or the way that we have been acting out the woundedness in our lives, and encouraging us to heal the wound, and encouraging us to open our minds to new ways of seeing those wounds in order for us to heal. This is a really thorough list of Chiron and Aries themes that we are being asked to work with between now and 2027, I believe, when Chiron moves out of Aries. Just double checking that. Yes. But some of the woundedness can express itself as, some of the healing can express itself at this time as taking responsibility, quitting the blame game, finding ways to do it ourselves, empowerment, improving self-worth, removing self-seeking motives, developing power through discipline, embracing spiritual warrior energy, facing addiction and letting go of our death wish, healing codependency and letting freedom ring. So these are just some ways that the Chiron and Aries energy can be playing itself out over these next several years. But with this Mars in Capricorn, it's almost like it's saying, all right, time to sober up a bit, time to take action and assert ourselves in ways that perhaps are no longer supporting this old wounded Chiron and Aries expression of energy. And that can be in ways of like just hiding or not feeling our self-worth or our sense of self or our self-identity. And so we kind of want to just hide our light. But it can also be over exaggerated because we're coming from this place of such woundedness that we then are sort of acting out our Aries energy in all of these ways that are kind of like brutish or just too much, because it's really coming from a place of not actually feeling that connection to ourself. So Mars in Capricorn here squaring that Chiron, again, just because Mars rules Aries, which is very interesting to note. So that means that the ruler of the sign that Chiron is in right now is saying, how do we assert at this time? We assert with in some ways dignity. We assert with self-authority. We assert with discipline, and it's just asking us to look at our Chiron and Aries woundedness and how we are expressing it, and saying, we need to kind of get a more sober look at that and take steps and take action to express ourselves in a more responsible way. All right, the next energy as Chiron moves through, it opposes the North Node in Cancer. So which means it's going to be conjuncting the South Node in Capricorn. Mars conjuncting the South Node in Capricorn, opposing the North Node in Cancer. Well, the North Node is all about collectively where we're destined to be going right now. So we're all getting more in touch with Cancer ideas, such as our emotions and our feelings and what makes us feel nurtured and what makes us feel secure. And this is where we're all heading. This is where we want to be. This is where we feel we need to go. We need to get more in touch with how we feel. But the Mars in Capricorn conjunct the South Node in Cancer could be bringing a bit of a reflection on the past, because that's what the South Node's all about. And the past in Capricorn could suggest, I mean, it does suggest where we've sort of mastered some energy, but it also can suggest where we're more comfortable. And so with Mars going over this South Node in Capricorn, activating it, it could just be saying that we're more comfortable perhaps being more Capricornian, being more like in that, I want to say, kind of cold, calculated, not so feeling oriented energy. And we could, with Mars there, be acting from that place of sort of ancient karmic memory of just sort of shutting things down and shutting things off and not wanting to deal with things from a emotionally connected place. So it's just a time where we may be feeling the need to become aware of that energy, drawing us back towards that more Capricornian expression of dominance, austerity, restrictiveness, inhibition, and control. Of course, we need those things in order to protect ourselves, in order to create in our life. I mean, we do need Mars and Capricorn energy, but not at the expense of really tapping into what we're feeling and what makes us feel the most at home, what makes us feel the most secure, the most comforted. That's all Cancer stuff. And so this will just be an interesting energy to kind of recognize if we're getting sort of more pulled into this, well, I should be doing it because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. That would be Mars in Capricorn conjunct the South Node in Capricorn as well. All right, moving forward, we see that the next aspect with Mars is actually in March. And Mars is going to be making a sextile to Neptune. This is on the 14th. And this is Neptune in Pisces. So this is a nice opportunity. That's what the sextile indicates, to blend our ability to put ourselves out there, to take action, to put ourselves out there using our effort. But with this Neptune in Pisces, which is more of a sensitive energy. Neptune is all about the transcendent realm. It's beyond the physical realm. It has to do with our spirituality and making contact with that which is greater than our ego. And it has to do with compassion, and it has to do with things like just being sensitive and being very open to everything. And so with the Mars sextiling Neptune, this just could suggest that we are able to assert ourselves in a way that does incorporate more of the profound, more of the transcendent. This can be a time to really begin creative work, because Mars is assertion and action, and in Capricorn, it's in there for the long haul. But Neptune's all about our creative connection too, because we can really sense creativity, and so we could put that creativity into action with this particular transit. It's also just lightening up Mars and Capricorn a bit. It's just sort of saying, don't forget to recognize that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that it's important to soften a bit, and be sensitive and be compassionate and be willing to see things from a more transcendent perspective, and move forward or take action with including that transcendent awareness as well. Then we've got on the 20th of March, Mars conjuncting Jupiter. And this is a interesting beginning of the Mars making contact with the 3 other planets that are in Jupiter right now. And it's going to be setting off, ultimately, some of the energy that we experienced back in January with the Saturn and Pluto conjunction in the sign of Capricorn, where they still are. And this Saturn-Pluto conjunction has all been about, Saturn is discipline and effort. It rules the sign of Capricorn. And Pluto's all about transformation and plumbing the depths of our awareness into our unconsciousness and seeing what's there and releasing the shadow and freeing up that energy in order to find more power within ourselves to focus and put towards really our soul's path. But so this is a conjunction that is going to be going on for a while. I mean, it's the energy of the conjunction will be radiating for a long while, really until Saturn comes back around and conjuncts Pluto again, which would be in another 30 years or so. But what's happening with Mars coming by, it's sort of activating the energy of that January time. And this is all about sort of making effort towards transformation in all of our lives. Collectively, that's what it's asking of us. And specifically the transformations around these structures that have held our lives together up until this point. We can see this collectively with the changes, the shift and changes in our politics and sort of this dying of an old paradigm of patriarchy and that kind of thing. But we can also see it in our own lives, wherever this conjunction lands in our personal charts, we are seeing where we need to transform. We are seeing where we need to put more effort into things in our lives, where we are needing to shift and change the old paradigms, the old structures, the old ways of what kind of we've built our life upon in certain ways. That is all kind of needing to shift and change and transform. So again, Mars first will be coming by Jupiter on the 20th. And Jupiter's all about broadening our perspective. It's about opening our minds to new ways of looking at things. Now in Capricorn, this is saying that we expand our consciousness by taking accountability, by having self-discipline, by working hard, by being organized. So it's a different kind of feel for Jupiter, because Jupiter, is really a mental energy about like new ways of looking at things and expanding our perspective. But Capricorn's Earth, and it's saying, well, we do this expansion and this growth through effort, through hard work, through discipline, through being organized. So Mars is going to come by and stimulate that Jupiter energy. And to me, that's a nice combination. It's about being able to sort of work at implementing this new perspective and work hard at being organized, but in these ways that's bringing in this really sort of this disciplined perspective into our life, sort of growing up a bit is what I would say this Jupiter and Capricorn feels like. So Mars is going to come by and stimulate that. And then it's going to go over Pluto. And this is on the 22nd of March. And this is going to be, when Mars and Pluto get together, this can be a very intense energy, because Mars is about going for it and action, and Pluto is about, in some ways, it's about power and control, and it wants to. But other aspects are about going deep into our unconscious and discovering what's there. So I would just say this: we need to be very sort of aware at this time of these two kind of activating one another in these more compulsive Pluto ways that sort of just, want to really just ruthlessly go after what we want. And, in Capricorn, that can also bring about a little bit of a, if we're sort of acting out the lesser expressions of it, it can be those expressions of austerity, restrictiveness, inhibition, and control. I mean, in some ways, this is good, because this is saying, like, we can really step into our personal authority, and we can really control our energy, as long as we're not trying to wield it in a dominant way that's trying to, bring power over people. And perhaps with Mars having gone over Jupiter prior to this, Jupiter in Capricorn, this is helping us integrate Jupiter and Capricorn, because Jupiter is a positive energy. So this is maybe opening our minds to a new way of Capricornian expression that isn't so much about, like, total domination, total control, total, like, my way or the highway, or even being so cold and frigid that we can't make connection. I think Jupiter is offering something to Capricorn right now, a new way, a new perspective on the Capricornian expression. And so now Mars can sort of take that understanding in its way it asserts itself as it's going over Pluto and eventually over Saturn, and bringing this sort of fresh way of doing Capricorn to this energy of death and transformation, of power, and then ultimately it will go over Saturn, but that won't happen until Mars moves into Aquarius, which happens at the end of the month. And I'll leave that for another discussion. So this has been my discussion on Mars going through the sign of Capricorn. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you do like my videos. And if you have any comments to make about Mars and Capricorn, feel free. And we'll see you at the next video. Thank you. Take care.